Amber here, Big City Bettas, and today I'm going to be talking about what I feed my fish, specifically what is in my gel food, which makes up about 50% of their diet. This box has permanent residence in my fridge. It takes up a lot of space, but what's in it is well worth it in my mind. So the first thing in the box are my containers of pre-measured foods. These are so when I sell things like snails, which come with veggie sticks and calcium, or bettas, I can send a little container of some of the food they've been eating. So I know that any of the animals I put so much work into raising, they're going to go on to continue eating at their new homes and hopefully being fed the way they should. I do this as a way to kind of encourage people to not only provide snails with the calcium that they need, but to really give their bettas a variety, because the whole point of this box is that the best way to feed a betta to make it healthy is to give it a wide variety. All fish in the wild, they're not going to be pretty much, unless you have a very specialized eater, all fish are going to eat a variety of things. Bettas especially, wild bettas, it's pretty much anything that swims past them that they can fit in their mouth, they're going to try to eat it. That's a carnivorous fish for you. So this half is all the pellets that are in my little pellet blend. So we're not really going to talk about that. But pellets do make up 50% of their diet, and that's because I feed high protein pellets. And my babies are going to go into homes where many owners aren't going to feed whole frozen foods or, any number of the other things, or pashy gel food. They're probably going to feed pellets. It's the most common thing. I do not feed flakes. I think they cause too many issues with bettas. So 50% of their diet is pellets. The other half is everything that I'm going to show you suspended in gel, and I'm going to show you how to make it. So first ingredient, freeze-dried Daphnia. Second one is freeze-dried Cyclops. We have some golden pearls. And these are actually a multitude of different ingredients combined together. These are ideal for feeding younger fry that might not want to take dried food, because these little particles stay suspended in the water column, much like baby brine shrimp or Daphnia, Cyclops, any other microorganisms. Powdered tubiflex worms, plankton powder, Artic krill powder. And now this is actually interesting because krills contain a natural carotenoid. And what a carotenoid is it is a naturally occurring organic pigment that's found in like plants. And it's what causes salmon and trout flesh to be pink or reddish or orange. It's what causes shrimp to be the color they are. And actually, fun fact, flamingos are pink due to the carotenoids found in the food they eat. If they are not eating, I believe it's krill actually, if they are not eating those little, microorganisms that contain that, they turn white. So zoos actually have to supplement them with carotenoids. And I use krill powder mainly just as a protein source, because my carotenoids that I use are astaxanthin powder, which is a carotenoid that specifically is used to enhance reds, oranges, yellows. You can use paprika, I've been told. It's a very similar thing, but this seems to work a bit better. Spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, and this is another carotenoid. This will enhance colors. This one is better for enhancing like greens and blues and kind of cooler colors. It's also just really healthy. It's considered a superfood. So, and I also had a really good amount of calcium carbonate. Now this is just a bulk version of like the hermit crab calcium powder you'd feed, a reptile calcium powder. I use this because I am beginning to think more and more that ray curling, which is something that I am having a real issue with, given that I'm working with a partial crowntail spawn, crowntail placots, I'm thinking more and more that calcium's the key. So I've begun adding calcium to the gel food and seeing some good results, and I'm really hoping that as I continue to work with the line I have right now, or rather the spawn I have right now, working it into a line, I'm hoping the addition of calcium will help me negate some of the curling I'm seeing, because it's very frustrating. And it would make sense. The rays are bone segment. If we use calcium, they're going to be stronger and thicker. And I don't know if you can hear my neighbor's child screaming right now, but I'm really sorry about that. I also have just straight freeze-dried tubiflex worms in here. I feed these as like a treat for my baby bettas. I also feed fluval bug bites, which I don't have here right now, for kind of an in-between age where they're not ready to be eating pellets. The amounts that I use for my gel food, I just kind of mix all the powders up together and use that one like master powder, if you will, as the base for my gel food. And whenever I need more, I mix up more. The portions I use are 1 tablespoon of everything but the calcium and the 2 carotenoids. So, tablespoon of all these different powders, proteins, whatever. 2 tablespoons of the calcium, and 1 teaspoon, heaping teaspoon each, of the spirulina and the astaxanthin powder. Now, in addition to that, for my gel food, I also add frozen brine shrimp, frozen mysis, and frozen bloodworms. Now, you can thaw all 3 of these foods, feed them as they are. You know, you don't have to add them in gel food. They aren't necessarily thought of as an ingredient for food so much as a food themselves. But in case you haven't noticed, I'm just trying to add as many things as I possibly can. So, yeah, as many proteins as I can get in there, the better. Because instead of feeding, you know, 1 day bloodworms, 1 day gel food, 1 day pellets, I can just do pellets in the morning, gel food at night, and they are getting all of the different foods that I have available for them, which is awesome. So, I also use beef hearts. I am fortunate enough to live in a neighborhood where literally the grocery store at the end of my block, like a 2-minute walk, has fresh beef hearts. Beef heart is by far like one of the best sources of protein for growing bettas. So I use that. And then I also add garlic extract. Now, many people use this as an additive to get finicky or picky fish to eat their food. I use it for the health benefits mainly. Garlic has been well known for many centuries to have a lot of health benefits for both people and animals. So definitely always add my garlic. Whoops. I also add Vitachem, which is a vitamin formula for freshwater fish. They make a marine version. It has pretty much everything your fish needs. Really great stuff. Whoops, let me just throw that. And then I also add Celcon. Celcon is a marine fatty lipid blend that is just amazing stuff for growing your fish, getting them ready for breeding, and just keeping them in good shape, frankly. And by good shape, I mean nice and fat and happy, because bettas really should be chunky. You shouldn't look down from above on your betta and have it look almost like a big tadpole, if that makes sense. I see a lot of really skinny bettas out there, and they should be plump and happy. And, you know, I could go off on a whole rant about that. So anyways, yes, this is what's in my gel food. Well, this is specifically what's in my gel food. So I'm going to show you guys how I use these ingredients, not this, because this is ready to go. I just measure it out and mix it up. But these all need to be prepared, so I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so I have 2 cubes each of the frozen foods, which I am now putting back in the fridge because they're thawing. And to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon garlic extract, half a teaspoon of the Celcon, And then a full teaspoon of the Vitachem. And that just needs to sit and do its thing. Thaw out. And I'm also going to need 2 tablespoons of our powdered food mix. So, and really guys, you want to breathe through your nose at this point. You do not want to breathe through your mouth because you might get a really gross taste when the powders poof up, and it's kind of awful. As I was saying, the powders might poof up and get you. Gross. So, 2 tablespoons of our powder. We have our vitamin mix and worms and like shrimp. And now we're going to prepare the beef heart. You need to make sure you trim it really well because fish can't actually break down or digest mammal fat. So we're going to want to clean it. You're going to want to take off all this outside. Really sharp knife will help with that. You want to make sure you get any visible veins as well. Then we have this side. There we go. Checking for anything I might have missed. Any last bits. It looks pretty good. So to make it easier for my food processor, I'm just cutting it up a bit. And I'm going to keep cutting it up into smaller bits. A little piece jumped off the board, but there. Fat, veins removed. If you see any pieces like this is a little bit of sinew, just cut it off. You don't want any pieces. Now I'm going to take, if you remember, I have bowls of powder and the now thawed frozen, and I'm going to add about the same amount. Oh, another piece that we don't want. And add about the same amount of beef heart in here, and toss the beef heart, there we go, the beef heart and the frozen in my food processor, and turn it into a nice little puree. And here we have the pureed beef heart, the frozen foods, and the supplements. It's all pretty homogeneous. It's well blended. You know, I don't see any individual pieces. It's just kind of a nasty gloopy glob. And to that, I'm going to add the powdered food. And I'm going to back up for a minute because I don't want to inhale any again. That was disgusting. And I'm just going to mix it all up. Oh, God. And this part sucks because it poofs up and, like... I'm not going to talk during this part. I'm just going to mix it because I really don't eat this. And it's poofing up. And there we go. See how it's kind of a thick paste? And also, when I was mixing the powder, in case you guys didn't notice, I was more mashing with the spatula than I was actually stirring, because stirring in a traditional sense would totally make that like poof up in my face, and I'd be tasting it, and it's really grody. But my fish love it. And now I'm going to be sprinkling gelatin. 2 packets of unflavored gelatin. And if you guys look, the only ingredient is gelatin. It shouldn't be flavored. It shouldn't be anything. Just straight gelatin. And now you want to mix it up as best as you can. You really don't want it sticking to the sides like it is. I should have mixed a little fiercer, but that's fine. My camera stopped recording, so I just mixed the gelatin in really well. Now I'm adding 2 tablespoons at a time, well, 2 tablespoons to start, of boiling water. And again, I'm not stirring hard, I'm just kind of lightly mashing it in almost. And I want to add at least another tablespoon, if not 2. It all depends, guys. Like, sometimes it's a little different than others. Sometimes I use a little bit more beef heart. Sometimes, frankly, there's more blood in the beef heart I'm using. But this is pretty thick. This looks good. I don't really want to make it much looser than this or dilute it down anymore. So I'm going to take a clean gallon Ziploc bag. Now, if I could find small enough, like, cubes, I could do it, but for Bettas, it just wouldn't make sense with how small the cube would have to be. I do make large, in ice cube trays, large cubes of snail food for my mystery snails, which I will show you guys in a video soon, because I'm making that soon. Right, scrape it all into the bag, and notice I tried not to get any on the sides. A little bit did, but that's fine. And if you fold the sides of a bag down, if it drips, it won't be getting on the zip itself, the little Ziploc part, so it won't prevent you from closing it. And now I want to take as much air out as I can, so I'm going to push the food into the corners and push out. Seal the bag and flatten my food into a pretty thin layer. Just kind of press it along. You don't want too thin. You also don't want too thick, because what I do is I cut off pieces of it for my Bettas. And one little trick for doing this, rolling pin. You don't want to use a French rolling pin, which is tapered on the edges. Though it's great for baking, that will make it uneven. So really lightly, just barely use your pin. And there we go. I'm not putting any pressure at all. This is all just the weight of the rolling pin. There we go. A really thin little package of the food. And I'm going to put that in the fridge to set up. Another quick tip for putting it in your fridge, put it on cookie sheet or baking sheet. You want this to be laying flat, and most fridges, the shelves are either wire or they have ridges in some way for if moisture gets spilled. So it's always smart to just do it on a sheet tray. It's the next morning and the food has set up pretty well. That's why we use as much gelatin as we do, because this also has to stand up going in water. So And basically at this point what I do is I'm going to cut a chunk off. So and as you can see, it's super thin, but it's also firm, which is exactly what I want. Even the piece that broke off, it's not like mushy. So yeah, and then from here I just cut little individual pieces off and drop them into the tanks, and I'll show you guys how I feed it. But remember, this gets bagged up and put in your freezer.